Let's jump into the local stocks and start with MTN. It is one of Paul's favorite stocks, and it's also one of the world's largest mobile phone companies with large businesses in Nigeria, South Africa, and Ghana and Iran.
Yep, those are the big theatres of its operation. So a combination of Africa and Middle East. 230 million customers. That's an impressive number. If you do the maths, I think that's 1 out of every sort of 40 or something people on the entire planet are in fact MTN customers, and its biggest businesses are in countries with a relatively low tele density. In other words, it's still got scope for further growth in those markets.
Market cap 420 billion rand, price to earnings ratio of 14.8, and a dividend yield here of 7%, which has to be among the highest dividend yields out there. It's very attractive.
Yes, it's an attractive dividend yield. I'm not 100% convinced that the 7% is correct. My numbers are looking forward at more like sort of 5.5 or thereabouts. The point is, though, it still remains a very attractive dividend, especially in a market like we have at the moment, where a lot of your traditional dividend payers, the likes of Sasol, Kumba, Anglo American, they're all taking a lot of strain because of lower commodity prices. I think a lot of those dividends are at risk, whereas telecom's dividends are far less so.
MTN we have in the portfolio.
Yep.
And we have long been a supporter.
Indeed. And I mean, I've owned them personally. We're in the asset management business. We've got people whose purchase prices for MTN is like 12 rands a share. It's now trading at 230 or thereabouts. It's been a fantastic success story. It's done well, of course, in Asia and in the markets we've talked about. Iran needs a special conversation all of its own, but its Africa base is its most attractive asset, and of course Nigeria, its principal market.
You mentioned Nigeria. Now, David, I want to get your thoughts on Nigeria. Right now we've seen a change of administration. President Buhari has come in. He's currently constructing his cabinet. We don't have much clarity yet in terms of what is happening. Are you concerned about Nigeria in relation to MTN?
A little bit, yes. I think the first comment is that the market has largely priced in the uncertainty in Nigeria. The market's probably pricing in a weaker currency than is the case right now in Nigeria. We do think that it'll come under a little bit of pressure in the next few months once the new government settles down. With that, though, I think generally the new government is very positive for Nigeria. I think it should help economic growth. But of course, that country lives mostly on exports, and specifically oil exports. And with the oil price down a bit, the economic situation there is not phenomenal right now.
And you still have that lag impact, because they're not, the oil impact, the lower oil price is not yet showing in the GDP numbers, but it will because of the lag effect.
Yes, it will come through, but remember that roughly half that Nigerian population of about 180 million, so call it 90 million people in Nigeria, are 18 years old or younger. So you just have such a wall of potential customers and people coming into that economy that will be spending on food and healthcare, telecommunications, beer, for example, and that really should just lift that entire economy on a longer term basis.
This robust consumer story in Nigeria underpins the telco story.
You just got to back it, you know. I mean, it's obviously not the ideal environment to have a business. You've got supply challenges with fuel, electricity and all that sort of thing. There's the MTN share price. A lot of people have said it's a mature ex-growth type story. It isn't. It continues to soldier on and soldier upwards. That fall off in late 2014 is in fact when oil goes down the drain and everybody gets worried about the fiscal stability in Nigeria. So, you know, it's appropriate that it came off, but I think it offers value at current levels.
So, David, apply your analysis now to what we're seeing in the share price and what it means about the future.
All right, I think, as Paul said, you know, the big drop last year was when oil halved in price, and obviously that's relevant to Nigeria. Remember also MTN sells product in Iran, which is also an oil exporting country. I largely agree with Paul that I think there's a lot of scope now for a slightly lower sort of base level for this group to continue to grow, based purely on more people getting a telephone for the first time, and all of those people using data. Because remember, fixed line essentially is non-existent on the African continent. So while in the Western world people may use Wi-Fi or fiber to the business or to the home or whatever, in Africa, if you want internet, you're going to use it via the mobile network. That's basically your only option. So I think an investment in MTN gives one exposure to that entire African growth into data.
We've got a little bit more time for MTN because
You
as
want to
the
talk about
show
Iran?
evolves, yes, Iran is a bit of a worry. It's a fantastic market. They got in second and they had only the state competitor. They've got a country there with like also 90 million population, lots of young people. It's an Islamic republic with some strange politics, but it is not inside of the world economy because of sanctions, because of that whole thing around nuclear development. That process of negotiation is kind of coming to a head. The Ayatollah is making some last minute comments which are a concern, but I generally think what's going to happen there is that they are going to do a deal. And that will be very positive for MTN because it means the cash flows can move backwards and forwards and people can start trading with Iran again and they won't have any of these sort of supply challenges.
I take it that the uncertainty over Iran is also priced into MTN's share price.
Yes, is the short answer. As Paul said, MTN's got a lot of cash that is stuck in Iran that because of sanctions they've not been able to repatriate back up to the group and to shareholders. And at some point when those sanctions are lifted, MTN will be able to bring a lot of money back to South Africa and then of course distribute that to its shareholders.
This is a blue chip that you should have in your portfolio. There just doesn't seem to be any end to the future story surrounding telcos, the young population, especially when it comes to Africa.
Absolutely agreed.
There we go. So hot or not, Paul
Hot.
Turan. Hot or not, David Lurkey.
Hot.